There's a moment you know well. You're drowning, quietly. No splashing, no noise, just the slow pull of water over your head while your face stays perfectly still. Someone asks, "You good?" And you say, "Yeah, I'm fine." You didn't even think about it. The lie came out faster than the truth ever could. Here's the paradox that's going to sit with you for the rest of this video. The people who need help the most are almost always the ones who ask for it the least. Think about that. The ones carrying the heaviest weight learned, somewhere along the way, to carry it silently. And the strange part, you've probably been praised for this, called strong, called so put together, called the reliable one. But what if strength was never the reason? What if it was survival? Somewhere in your story, and we're going to find that moment tonight, you learned that needing something from someone else was dangerous, not inconvenient, not embarrassing, dangerous. And here's the first open loop I want you to sit with. What happened to you the first time you asked for help and didn't get it? We'll come back to that. Here's the second. If no one taught you it was safe to fall apart, how would you even know how? Stay with me. This isn't going to feel comfortable, but it's going to feel true.
Let's slow down and look at what's actually happening in your nervous system when you refuse help. First concept, learned self-reliance. This isn't a personality trait, it's a trained response. Somewhere, your brain calculated an equation, needing others equals risk, and it never stopped running that calculation even decades later. Second, hypervigilant independence. Your body isn't just choosing to handle things alone, it's scanning constantly for the moment someone might disappoint you so it can beat them to the exit. If you never lean on anyone, no one can let you down. It's not control, it's armor. Third, the fawn and fix response. Most people know fight, flight, freeze, but there's a fourth survival state, where instead of asking for care, you become the caregiver. You fix everyone else's crisis because it's easier than sitting inside your own. Here's the metaphor. Imagine your nervous system as a house with a very good alarm system, except the alarm doesn't go off for danger anymore. It goes off for closeness. Someone gets near enough to help you, and somewhere inside a siren says, "Not safe, not safe, get out." And here's the reframe that might sting a little. This isn't a strength, it's a wound wearing strength's clothing.
Let's go somewhere heavier now, because independence has a price, and you've been paying it quietly for years. Every time you don't ask, you disappear a little. Every time you say, "I'm fine," when you're not, you teach the people who love you that you don't need their love, only your presence. And slowly, painfully, people stop offering, not because they don't care, but because you trained them not to try. The philosopher Simone Weil once wrote that attention is the rarest and purest form of generosity, but you can't receive attention you never let anyone give. So you built a life that looks full but feels like performing. You became competent instead of connected, reliable instead of known. And here's the identity conflict underneath all of it. There is a version of you, younger, softer, unarmored, who wanted to be held, who wanted someone to notice without being told, who wanted rescue, not applause. That version didn't disappear. He's still in there, still waiting by the door for someone to knock twice the way you used to hope they would. You didn't become the strong one because you had no needs. You became the strong one because your needs went unanswered long enough that you stopped voicing them out loud. Say that sentence again in your head, slowly. That's not a weakness, that's grief with nowhere to go. Let's bring this into your actual life right now. You might apologize before asking anyone for anything, even something small. You became someone who says, "Don't worry about it," while quietly falling apart in the bathroom. You might feel a flash of panic when someone offers to help, because help feels like debt, not a gift. You became the friend everyone calls at 2 a.m., but you've never once called anyone at 2 a.m. yourself. You might overfunction at work, taking on more than your role, because being needed feels safer than being known. You became allergic to rest, because stillness leaves too much room for feeling. You might cry only in the shower or the car, or somewhere no one can witness it, because being seen in pain still feels like exposure, not intimacy. None of this makes you broken. It makes you someone who adapted brilliantly to an environment that didn't have room for your softness. The tragedy isn't that you're independent. The tragedy is that you had to be. So where does this go from here? Not toward becoming needy, not towards some overnight transformation where you suddenly text everyone your feelings. Healing isn't a personality flip. It's a slow, deliberate rewiring. Start with awareness. The next time you feel the urge to say, "I'm fine," pause for 3 seconds before you say it. That pause is where change begins, not in the words, but in the gap between the reflex and the choice. Do the inner child work. Somewhere inside you is a younger self who needed someone to ask, "Are you okay?" and mean it. You can be that person now, not perfectly, but consistently. Build boundaries, but understand what they're really for. Boundaries were never meant to keep people out. They were meant to make it safe enough to let people in. Practice emotional regulation before connection, not instead of it. You don't have to be calm to be helped. You just have to be honest. There's a quote from Brené Brown that fits here better than almost anything else. Connection is why we're here. It is what gives purpose and meaning to our lives. You cannot self-reliance your way into belonging. Healing doesn't mean you become someone who needs everyone. It means you become someone who no longer has to prove they don't. You were never meant to carry all of this alone. Somewhere along the way, you mistook silence for strength and isolation for independence. But the truth, the quiet, aching truth, is that the version of you who could ask for help was never lost. He's just been waiting for permission. If this described a part of you that's never had the words for it, send it to someone who feels this every single day, but has never once said it out loud. They might not ask you to, but they'll know exactly why you sent it.